From the beautiful city of Los Angeles, California, we bring you the Gimme 3 podcast.
Welcome back, cinephiles, cinema lovers, and movie appreciators to the Gimme 3 podcast, your go-to movie podcast, the one where we choose 3 films connected by one theme. I'm your co-host, Bella of Stratus, and I'm finally reunited with my adventurous co-host, Nicholas Ibarra. Nick, welcome back. How was it exploring the world these past few weeks?
Explored Japan. Sonia and I went to Japan, which was absolutely incredible. It is a wonderful country filled with wonderful people and wonderful food and an amazing culture. And, you know, I just can't say enough good things about it. We had an absolute blast while we were there. And we were there for 2 weeks. So it was like a good chunk of time, a good amount of time to like explore and see things and like actually experience some of the culture in the cities we went to. We went to Kyoto, we went to Okinawa, and of course Tokyo. So yeah, amazing trip. Definitely a place I'd love to revisit, and underscored why I love Japanese cinema so much and Japanese literature so much.
Yeah. They're
just amazing in every way. And then I was home for 2 days, and I went on a bachelor party cruise to Mexico. So as I was telling Bella, like I felt myself getting healthier and trimmer while I was in Japan because the food is so good and good quality and lean and stuff. And we were walking so much. And then I go on this bachelor party cruise, and I felt myself getting very unhealthy. And what's the trim? Fat.
I love it.
Yeah. For 2 weeks in Japan has nothing on 3 days on an all-inclusive cruise.
Oh, ain't that the truth? How long is that flight to Japan? I'm sure you watched a billion movies on your way there.
On the way there, I didn't actually watch, I don't think, a single flick.
Oh, wow.
I was like reading and doing some other stuff and a little bit of sleeping. We flew from Hawaii, and that was, I think, like 10 hours. The flight back, I think, was just a little under 10 hours. So it was even less. I don't know how that works.
Yeah.
But yes, the flight back, I did watch 4 movies, like back to back to back to back. I watched like four rom-coms. I was like in a rom-com mood because like I think rom-coms are great for an airplane.
Oh, so they're the best.
Love Brooklyn, a movie that came out I think like last year or 2 years ago. Lovely movie. I liked that a lot. I watched Miss Congeniality. I watched It's Complicated, and I watched Sleepless in Seattle.
Oh,
no, I didn't watch Miss Congeniality. I watched Miss Congeniality on the way out. I lied. I did watch a movie on the way out there. Miss Congeniality. On the way back, I watched Notting Hill, which I had never seen. Everybody always talks about Notting Hill as like this, you know, great rom-com. And I was like, all right, I'll check out this Notting Hill. It's all right.
Yeah, that's a classic. But then I don't know that it like aged very well. You know, it's one of those where like I came back to it and I was like, is this a movie I watched and loved as a kid? Maybe not. I don't know. So I actually agree with that sentiment. Sorry to everyone who loves that movie.
I enjoyed it. You know, like it's Hugh Grant.
Fine.
It's Julia Roberts. You know, it was pretty good.
Well, I unfortunately filled this little break while you and Sonia went on your Lord of the Rings quest with an unhealthy binge of reality TV.
Hey, sometimes you got to, it's like when you go to Japan and you fill yourself with good stuff. And then sometimes you just got to go on an all-inclusive cruise and say, I'm eating shit and I'm drinking trash.
Exactly.
Reality TV is the adios motherfuckers of media consumption.
Yeah. It's, you know, I finally dove headfirst into this little show called Traders that everyone has been talking
Oh
about.
yeah, everybody's talking about the
Yeah.
Traders.
Shout out Jessica McLaughlin. She actually tried to put me onto this show before everyone and their dog became obsessed with it. So, but then it took everyone and their dog to become obsessed with it for me to watch it. So I don't know what that says about me, but it was a great time. But I definitely did not flex my cinephile muscles as much as I should have. Actually, I did go see Pillion in theaters, which was so amazing. I feel like more people should be talking about that movie.
Well, you know who's going to be talking about that movie? Sonia Maru on our Sonia's Movie Minute today.
Oh my God, how perfect. You guys will get a taste of the brilliance of that film and why you should definitely go see it in theaters.
Great movie. Yeah, great movie.
Anyways, obviously, I'm really excited to get back into talking movies. In today's lineup, not only do we have 3 vastly different films, which has become a theme lately in both genre and style, but we are also spotlighting one of my all-time favorite actors today as a celebration of their birthday. Happy birthday to the great Oscar Isaac. You may recognize him as Timothée Chalamet's dad in Dune, or Poe in the new Star Wars franchise. Sensitive subject, Nick. I'm sorry. Ex Machina or X-Men. These are some of the more mainstream. I think the first time I saw Oscar Isaac was Ex Machina. And I was like, who is that? I love him. But what about you?
It was probably Ex Machina also, because I came to Inside Llewyn Davis late in the game. I saw that for the first time, like I think during COVID.
Oh, nice.
I missed it when it came out. But so yeah, I think Ex Machina for me as well.
Yeah, clearly Oscar Isaac has given us some seriously memorable supporting performances, often even overshadowing some of the leads in these films. He's just that good. But today we really wanted to show some love to 3 of his lead cinematic roles. And with these 3 lead roles, I think you're going to see the full scope of Oscar Isaac Hernandez Estrada's brilliance and craft, from his extraordinary musical talent in the Coen brothers' Inside Llewyn Davis, to the controlled menace and precision of the classic Paul Schrader lonely brooding man in The Card Counter. And we'll close out the show with this year's Golden Globe nominated performance as Victor Frankenstein in Guillermo Del Toro's take on the literary classic. Before we get started, Nick, anything you want to say about these films or our birthday boy?
I just also want to shout out that a couple years ago, I actually got to see him on Broadway as well in the 2023 revival of Lorraine Hansberry's The Sign in Sidney Bernstein's Window, which Lorraine Hansberry obviously famously wrote A Raisin in the Sun. So an incredible playwright. But this play, The Sign in Sidney Bernstein's Window, for some reason had not really been on Broadway a lot. I think it was like the first time it had been on Broadway in like 4 or 5 decades or something, for reasons I don't know about, because it's a tremendous play. And Oscar Isaac was in it opposite Rachel Brosnahan, and he was awesome. So anyways, the guy's got it, there's not that anybody's doubting it, but like, seeing somebody on screen is very different from seeing somebody on the stage. It's 2 very different kind of performances. It's a treat to get to see them do both, because you just get a better sense of their range. You get a better sense of the characters that they try and approach, as we're going to talk about here as well. And just how really truly talented they are. So yeah, that was a real treat.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. Do you want to take us away with our first film of the day then?
The first film of the day is Inside Llewyn Davis, which was released in 2013. It's directed by the Coen brothers. Remember when we used to say directed by the Coen brothers? Those were the days.
The good old days.
Those were the days. Anyways, it's starring, of course, Oscar Isaac as Llewyn Davis. It's also starring Carey Mulligan. John Goodman pops up. Justin Timberlake's in there. And inside Llewyn Davis follows, you guessed it, Llewyn Davis, who is a struggling folk musician in New York City in 1961. And when I say struggling, I mean struggling. He's broke. He's essentially homeless. He's going from couch to couch. In most cases, overstaying his welcome with friends and acquaintances. His solo album is not making a dime. He's playing these small cafes for peanuts. The woman he loves claims to hate his very existence. And boy, oh boy, do they have a complicated relationship. I mean, frankly, he's got a complicated relationship with everybody. Everybody he encounters is like, oh, God, well, that's not good. So he's struggling. And when I say struggling, I mean, perhaps the thing that he is struggling the most with is depression. You know, this depression, this grief, because his former musical partner and his best friend, Mike Timlin, died. They were musical partners. They had an album together. By all accounts, they were better as a duo than he is as a solo artist. Since his passing, Llewyn has been trying to find his voice as a solo artist. But hard to do that when he can't contend with the pain, you know, the pain in his heart. The one thing that Llewyn's got going for himself is his talent. He is talented, but, you know, sometimes talent just is not enough, especially when you're a dick. So several opportunities kind of present themselves to Llewyn over the course of this film. You got career opportunities that kind of present themselves, relationship opportunities that present themselves, job opportunities, life opportunities in some cases. But Llewyn he has this tunnel vision. He can't get this singular focused goal out of his vision, and he can't really get out of his own way. And much like any great folk song, Llewyn finds himself in a repeating cycle of pain and struggle. Inside Llewyn Davis is a folk song, not only in its themes, its honor of the genre. Sometimes it takes some comedic jabs at the genre, which I very much enjoy. But ultimately, at the heart of it, it's got the heart of a folk song. A unique film as only the Coens can deliver. Bella, what were your thoughts on Inside Llewyn Davis? And had you seen this before?
This was my first watch. Yeah, I had it on my list for a long time. And I of course, absolutely loved it. I honestly think it's a masterpiece. And it just, you know, it never ceases to amaze me how cinema can both inform or transform, you know, your taste and interest. And sometimes all it takes is one movie, and sometimes even just one actor.
Mm-hmm.
I was wary of how much I would enjoy this movie simply because I've never been a big fan of folk music. You know, the Bob Dylan, Timothy Chalamet movie didn't really do anything for me, even though everyone loved it last year. So that already in the back of my mind, I was like, ooh, we'll see how this goes. But Oscar Isaac specifically, I think, completely obliterated this kind of preconceived notion I had within like the first few seconds of the film. You know, from the opening shot, it's this close up on a microphone under this hazy, soft spotlight in a dark room. And within the very first few strums of his guitar off screen, I was just immediately drawn into the music. Like, I felt like I was in that audience. And then the camera slowly pans onto Oscar Isaac's face just as he starts singing this song called Hang Me, Oh Hang Me, which is just like this heartbreaking, very melancholic folk song or ballad. And from the get-go, I was just entranced. I mean, I love his voice of an angel. I mean, he's got me singing along to all of these songs in my car every day, which says a lot. You know, I didn't think I'd be that kind of person, but I just could not get enough of his voice and his talent. And I just think he really sells it with this performance and also just like the stage presence as his character.
Yeah, I mean, the musical performances in this film, especially by Oscar Isaac, are really just breathtaking. And rewatching it just from that first scene, that first song, you're just like, God damn, that is an incredible voice. And he's singing, he is singing in this film.
Yeah.
I couldn't help but think, I'm sorry, to harken back.
It's going to ruin the magic already.
No. But I couldn't help but think about, like you said, like you're not really a folk music fan.
Yeah.
And you love this movie, and it's because of the execution of the music, which this movie is so truly and so innately about the music.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't help but think about that. What was that movie that we watched with Jess a few weeks back that didn't ultimately work for me?
Oh, Queens of Drama,
which was also a film that was so innately about music. And I love punk music and I love pop music, but the music just was not executed well. So thus, I was taken out of it.
It changed the way you felt about it. Yeah. Yeah, it's the power of it.
With this film, it's just like, this was, I think, a star-making role for Isaac,
Oh, yeah.
Between his singing voice and his character is just got this unwavering, unflinching persistence to make the wrong decision. And, like Oscar Isaac somehow makes it endearing and empathetic, even though, he's just like, God damn, man, you are a fuck up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But we all know that person. We've all, or some of us have been that person. Some of us are that person still. So he executes that performance and that habit in a way that's very engrossing.
Totally. And I think like it's also such an effective opening scene because, you're introduced to his character as an artist.
Right.
And then it's revealed that he's sort of a scoundrel.
Right.
But you've already seen how undeniably talented he is. Like, so he no longer has to prove that and win you over. He's already done it from the very get-go. And I think that also just really sets the tone for this feeling that I had while watching it throughout the whole film, where it's like, no matter what, even though he's kind of an asshole, I want to see him make it. He deserves to make it. And, I think that's also what makes that ending hit that much harder. But yeah, it's such a phenomenal performance, both, and so perfect for like a Coen Brothers movie where it can be just as sad as it is funny.
Totally.
He's hilarious in this. I love just the kind of sarcastic asshole that he is. Asshole, literally, like one of my favorite scenes is the asshole scene where Carey Mulligan is just going off on him. She calls him an asshole like 500 times in like 5 minutes. And he's just sitting there like, completely unfazed. If anything, like a little bummed, like a little kid getting, reprimanded.
You don't know if it's mine?
No. How would I know?
So it could be Jim's.
Yes, asshole!
But you don't want it either way, to be clear.
To be clear, asshole, you fucking asshole, I want very much to have it if it's Jim's. That's what I want. But since I don't know, you not only fuck things up by fucking me and maybe making me pregnant, but even if it's not yours, I can't know that. So I have to get rid of what might be a perfectly fine baby. A baby I want, because everything you touch turns to shit! Like King Midas's idiot brother.
Well, okay. I see.
You know a doctor, right?
Yes.
From when? Whatever, Diane?
Yes.
And you'll pay for it?
Yes.
Don't tell Jim, obviously. I should have had you wear double condoms. Well, we shouldn't have done it in the first place, but if you ever do it again, which is a favor to women everywhere, you should not. But if you do, you should be wearing condom on condom and then wrap it in electrical tape. You should just walk around always inside a great big condom because you are shit.
Okay.
You should not be in contact with any living thing being shit.
Have you ever heard the expression, it takes two to tango?
Fuck you.
You're just like, I ought to slap you, dude. Like, It's such good delivery. Ugh, I
Yeah.
love him. Like another perfect example where you're just like, this is such a fucking asshole, but I also love him.
It's when the film starts, you forget that you're watching a Coen Brothers movie because it does not look or feel like most Coen Brothers movies. You know, it doesn't have that brooding, grounded thriller vibe, and it doesn't have that vibrant comedy vibe that some of their other films have. You know, and it certainly doesn't have the vibrant color that most of their films have. Like this,
Right.
this film looks like a folk album cover. It's got that grayish, brownish, desaturated look, which most of the time I absolutely fucking loathe. I hate it. But for this film, it works because it looks like that for a reason. In fact, perhaps this was the movie that, like, to blame for the start of that.
Maybe.
Perhaps this film is to blame for the trend.
Yikes.
All right, we're going to switch gears here. The card counter. We're done with this. No, I was kidding.
Moving on. Scrap it.
No. What was I talking about before I got in my own way?
The color palette.
Oh, yeah.
For the reasoning behind why it works.
Why it works and just like how it doesn't feel like a Coen Brothers movie. Like but once you get to that scene that you just talked about where Carey Mulligan and Oscar Isaac are just having this insatiable, delectable banter back and forth, you're just like, oh, there's my boys. There they go with their witty banter that like feels so real, but also feels so unreal at the same time. Like nobody talks like that, but God damn, it sure sounds like people talk like that. Wouldn't it be cool if people talk like that? You know?
Oh, so good.
Just tremendous. And it's fun to watch different actors like interpret it and deliver it in their own ways. And Isaac interprets it and delivers it in a way that I think is unique to most other actors. And it's fun to even kind of watch him go head to head with, say, John Goodman, who, you know, has been in several Coen Brothers movies. And, you know, he's so good at delivering their dialogue. And he just is as colorful as they come. But Isaac has like a much more grounded and a much more like even keel, laissez-faire delivery of their dialogue. So it's just fun to watch the generations of Coen Brothers muses kind of dance together.
Speaking of John Goodman's character, he is kind of like Mystique. He's almost like a Cheshire Cat kind of character and very out of place in the rest of the world that we've been seeing. Because we kind of see things through Llewyn Davis' eyes, which, you know, explains the desaturated color palette, you know, lack of color and the like really heavy soft focus.
Right.
Everything's kind of blurry and fading and dreamlike. And then when John Goodman comes in, you're like, who the hell is this cat? Like, this guy is freaky. Which feels very Coen Brothers.
Right.
To throw him in there and have him kind of shake things up. But as you said, Oscar Isaac really just like stays grounded throughout all of it. And it's such an interesting character relationship or dynamic there with them.
Totally. Contrasting styles.
Yeah. We talked about him being funny.
Yep.
But there are also moments, you know, some of the more heartbreaking moments. What I think one of the most impactful scenes for me, specifically in Oscar Isaac's performance, is when he sings The Death of Lady Jane for Bud Grossman. As kind of an audition. And it's such an amazing performance. You're so immersed in it, and we get to see him sort of lose himself, well, like the shitty selfish part of himself in the music for just a moment. You know, instead of pushing away all his pain, he really succumbs to it when he's singing, and he becomes so expressive. And it's, again, such a stark contrast to his usual sort of unfazed and sarcastic attitude. But then Bud Grossman just knifes you in the heart. It's a straightforward no.
Right.
Twists it when he says, I suggest getting back with your partner.
Well, the first
And
thing he
then-
says is, I don't see a lot of money here.
Oh, yeah. It's not even just a no. It's like, it's almost worse.
Yeah. Which is, I mean, frankly, I don't see a lot of money there either.
Yeah, you can have my money. I'll give it to you. No, but I hear you. Like, no one.
Having been to some folk concerts, and I'm sorry for any folk artists who are listening to this or folk fans, but I mean, I like folk music as much as the next American. You know, listening to it on a vinyl record or, you know, with a good joint. But when you go to a folk show, mother of God, you're like, how long have we been here? 20 minutes, huh? Shit.
Oh my God, that is hilarious. I have heard that from a friend who got dragged to a folk concert. So it was the longest day of my life.
Anyway, sorry, I cut you off.
That's funny. No, that's
Anyways.
it's true.
He was pouring his heart out. You were pouring your heart out, and both of us, both me and the
a real Bud Grossman, Nick.
Right, I know.
No, but you're right. He completely is just like, it's not a lot of money here. I suggest getting back with your partner, which you're just like, oof. And then the final blow is Llewyn's response is good advice.
Yeah.
And then he just walks out, and you're just like, oh my God, brutal, absolutely brutal. And the delivery of that line, it's 2 words, but the way he delivers it, it's like
the subtext.
You see it all, you get it all.
The subtext of the line is tremendous.
Yeah, so good. So yeah, it's really like full spectrum here of a performance. I mean, I got everything I could have ever wanted and more out of this.
He's got range. He's got range. He's funny. Yeah. He's sad. He's a sad little artist, and he gives again a musical performance that's very, very memorable. The character itself is not so much based on one single person, but the Coen brothers kind of began the journey to this script with a single idea after they read the memoir, posthumously published memoir, The Mayor of McDougal Street, which is about Dave Van Ronk, a folk musician. And he wrote about getting beat up outside Gertie's Folk City in the Village, I assume Greenwich Village. That scene or that moment in the memoir was just enough for the Coen brothers to kind of take it and run with it. And they used it for the opening image of the, scene of the movie. They used it for the ending scene of the movie. I guess the book's co-author, Elijah Wald, said the Coens kind of mined that memoir also for just like local color, a few scenes here and there. So it's not really based off of Dave Van Ronk, but I would say inspired by him, apparently also Ramblin' Jack Elliott and a few other musicians from New York City who were performing in the Village at the time. So based off of, the scene at the time, real people. Yeah. Other characters in the movie are definitely inspired by real people as well, which I'll get into when I go into the trivia. But, as you would expect, the Coen brothers did their homework. Always.
It always pays off.
Of course, Dave Van Ronk's ex-wife watched the movie and she was like, man, this was absolutely nothing what it was like. She was like, I was surprised to see it not look anything like it did when I was like, she was like, why is everybody so nice? He's like, it was a drunken, crazy, fucking competitive time. It was nothing like this. She was like, they made it into I don't know what the word exactly she used, but she was like a sad and brown tale. I was like, oh, wow.
I mean, that's what it is.
It is. That's what it is. That is what it is.
Maybe that's not what it was, but that's what it is.
Exactly.
So in a sense, it's kind of a compliment.
Yeah. I think so.
Well, I'm excited to hear your trivia. I feel like there's so many
Well, yeah, let's get into
juicy
it.
things. Yeah.
We've got here. Give me 3 pieces of trivia for Inside Llewyn Davis.
I want to play a game. I want to play a game.
Piece of trivia number 1. Joel Coen remarked that the film doesn't really have a plot. And that concerned us at one point, and that's why we threw the cat in. They always say don't work with cats because cats are terrible to work with. In an interview included in the DVD, Ethan Coen said, "The cat was a nightmare." The trainer warned us, and she was right. She said, "Dogs like to please you, and the cat only likes to please itself," which is true. So a cat is basically impossible to train. So apparently they have lots of footage of cats doing things we don't want them to do. He said, if anybody's interested, I know there's definitely a market for that. It's like, man, they should have released that on the Blu-ray. Maybe they did. Who knows? But there definitely is a market for that. But, you know,
absolutely.
we were talking about how this dude is kind of a scoundrel, but you hear this guy sing in the opening moments of the film and you're just like, all right, I like this guy. But the other thing that they do with this in screenwriting, there is a term called save the cat. In fact, there's even books called Save the Cat, a whole series of screenwriting books called Save the Cat. And essentially the concept is that, you know, your character is going to have to do shitty things throughout the film. That is just what characters must do. Otherwise it'd be a very boring movie. But what they must do early in the film is they must, quote unquote, save the cat, save the proverbial cat, do something where they show their heart and you go, hey, that person's all right. They're all right. Well, in this movie, he literally saves a cat. The Coen brothers just took it quite literally. And they're like, I'm save a cat.
Only to abandon it.
Right.
Don't even get me started on it.
Right. I know.
I think I literally audibly gasped.
That was a good performance of the cat right there, wasn't it? When it's in the car seat or in the back of the car and it like wants to take a step forward and it's looking at Llewyn with its big eyes, you know, see? He
like
had
that
an
Puss in
opportunity.
Boots scene.
Right.
Shrek.
See, he's constantly turning down opportunities for love, companionship.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, piece of trivia number 2. Going back to the Bud Grossman character, Bud Grossman, played by F. Murray Abraham, is based on Albert Grossman, who ran the Gate of Horn Club in Chicago. He managed acts like Bob Dylan, who makes an appearance at the end of this film. Not the real Bob Dylan, but, you know, fictionalized version of Bob Dylan. Peter, Paul, and Mary, and Janis Joplin. And when Bud Grossman, the fictional character, suggests to Llewyn Davis that he may have an opening for him in the trio if he trims his beard into a goatee and stays out of the sun. He is referring to the real Albert Grossman putting together and managing Peter, Paul, and Mary trio, because that's what those guys look like. And allegedly, Grossman once told Mary Travers to stay out of the sun because he envisioned her as a more blonde, pale, indoor type. They touch on a lot of the sexualization of the female folk singers in here as well.
Yeah, they do.
All right, piece of trivia number 3. The Coens viewed the music in this film as a direct descendant of the music in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?, their 2000 picture. The films had the same music producer and musical director, T-Bone Burnett. And of course, both stories have structural or character connections, inspirations to the Odyssey. So if you want to do a double bill, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? And Inside Llewyn Davis would probably speak to each other quite beautifully.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's so true.
By the way, they got these connections to the Odyssey. And when Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Came out, the Coen brothers told several interviews that they actually didn't read the Odyssey. Oh. And then after this movie came out, they were interviewed by Terry Gross, and they said they still had never gotten around to reading it. One of them said, like, yeah, it's right by my bedside table. I keep looking at it, and it just go, ugh. Maybe they'll read it now that the old Nolan film's coming out.
Yeah, I mean, you have to, right?
It's on my list. I've got it right here on my desk.
Oh, there you go. Everyone's got the Odyssey on their bedside table.
I mean, I read it, I guess, question mark, in school because we had to read it. But was I reading it, or was I just like fighting to stay awake and like having my finger follow along on the words?
Dog-eared on page 1.
Ugh. All right, anyways, there you have it. Give me 3 pieces of trivia for Inside Llewyn Davis.
All I have to say is, please, Mr. Kennedy, don't shoot me into outer space. That shit was so funny.
Yeah.
So, check out the song, guys. Let us know what you think.
She's a good one. All right, Inside Llewyn Davis. It is available to stream on demand, and maybe, is it on Canopy?
Yes, I believe that's where I watched it. Sorry, this is the part where we've been doing this for 2 years now, more, and I never remember to write down where the hell I watched these wonderful movies.
I think it's on Canopy. I think it was like one of those moments where I rented it because I couldn't find it anywhere, and Canopy doesn't show up when you do a Google search. Yeah. And then I rented it for $3, and then I saw afterwards that it was on Canopy, and I said, God dang.
The worst. So I don't know why it won't show up on. That's why I use Letterboxd. We're not a sponsor, but
not a sponsor, but they should be.
But they should be, and if you put in your favorite, streaming services like Canopy, it'll tell you if it's on there.
Oh, you can do that?
Yeah. Well, I think you have to have like the pro version or something like that, which we both have because we get the stats.
Who are you talking to?
What am I saying? You're probably a patron. Yeah, if you put in like on the settings, you can put in like your favorite subscriptions, and then when you click on a movie, it'll show you where to watch it. It's the best.
Nice.
Pro tips.
There you go. You get them here on the Gimme 3 podcast, so you don't have to spend the $4 to rent a movie that you can get on Canopy for basically free.
Mm-hmm.
All right, our next film is quite the departure from the last, both in Oscar Isaac's performance and in every other way imaginable. It's called The Card Counter. It's from 2021, and one of those films that got lost in the post-COVID world, It's written and directed by Paul Schrader of Taxi Driver fame, and it is a Paul Schrader movie, if there ever was one. It is starring Oscar Isaac, of course, and the film follows William Tell, a gambler who taught himself how to count cards during an 8-year stint in military prison. And William wants to avoid attention. He wants to avoid the attention from gamblers and avoid attention from casinos. So he bets small, he wins modestly, and despite gambling nearly every day, he just kind of stays out of the limelight. In the casino, he's able to disappear, and this man wants to disappear. That's until 2 people enter his silent life. We've got Lalinda, who is played by Tiffany Haddish, who is an acquaintance in the gambling world, and she runs a stable of gamblers. She finds people to bankroll talented gamblers and card counters who can win the big tournaments for split pots, something William has very little interest in. The other person that changes things is a young man, Kirk Beaufort. I think that's how you say his last name. Who cares? When William is in Atlantic City, he happens upon a seminar held by retired Major John Gordo, who's played by Willem Dafoe. And this Major John Gordo happens to be his former superior. And this Kirk kid is the son of another man who served with William Tell, another man who was damaged and shattered by his time in the war. So Kirk wants revenge on John Gordo. He wants William Tell to help him. And when I'm talking revenge, I'm talking about, revenge. So this is a good time to revisit the question, why, oh why, was William Tell in military prison, you ask? Well, William Tell was a soldier tried and convicted for his role in the prisoner abuse at Abu Ghraib. Torturing human beings. Unspeakable horrors occurred there, and only a few paid the price. People like William Tell, who went to prison. People like Kirk's father, who killed himself. Meanwhile, John Gordo is alive and thriving. But William doesn't want Kirk to go down this path of revenge because he knows it's a dark and shitty path. Instead, he wants to give this kid a new chance at life. If he does this, perhaps he can put some of his demons to rest. So William Tell takes Lalinda's offer, joins the tournament game, and tries to take Kirk under his wing. But can Kirk silence his thirst for revenge? And can William Tell silence his PSD, the horrific thoughts and memories that are now returning to him with the Kirk's resurgence in his life? So that is what the card counter is about. This is not a comedy, as you can probably guess. Bella, what did you think of the card counter?
Yeah, I do remember when this came out, because I saw, Oscar Isaac, and I added it to my watch list, but then I just never really got around to it. I did like a lot of aspects of this movie, but it did fall a bit short for me. Mm-hmm. We can talk more about that later. I guess I'll get to the good stuff first. The good stuff being Oscar Isaac. I mean, For me, this guy carried this whole movie on his back. Even if we weren't doing an Oscar Isaac spotlight, he would be the one takeaway I would have from this film. Obviously, he's the main character, but he was also the only one that I really wanted to watch. I just could not take my eyes off of him. And then going from the disheveled, scrappy musician in Inside Llewyn Davis to this hyper disciplined, obsessive, brooding perfectionist is quite the transformation. In ways, he's borderline unrecognizable. I thought this was a very impressive performance with the material that was given to him, especially because we've seen male characters like this probably a billion times now on screen, and
500,000 of them written by Paul Schrader.
And yeah, exactly, this is through and through. But I do think Oscar, I think seeing him in this role is a unique experience. I think he really made it his own, and yeah, I genuinely enjoyed watching him. I wouldn't have been mad if the entire movie was just him, was even more, just him alone in his thoughts. I'm curious how your thoughts on this movie. Had you seen it before?
Yeah, this was actually my third viewing of this film.
Oh yeah, that's right. Wow.
So obviously it's a complicated film, and I remember the first time I watched it, I liked it, but some of the flaws were kind of glaring to me. Yeah. The second time I watched it was actually on a big screen. Oh, cool. And it was the second film of a double feature with First Reformed, another Paul Schrader film, which I think is a masterpiece, and I think it's one of the best films of the last quarter century.
Oh, wow. I really want to watch that.
It is one of my favorite films to come out recently. So this third viewing was actually the viewing that I enjoyed the film the most. Perhaps it was because I was honed in on Oscar Isaac's performance and really paying attention to that and focusing on that, which obviously I think is magnificent. Perhaps it's the fact that once again, we find ourselves in a war in the Middle East that nobody wants. And that gives the film a little bit more weight.
Yeah.
Sonia and I were just talking about how for a long time it was very rare, but we started seeing some recently films that kind of tackle head on what the horrors of what we have done in these wars, and especially in Abu Ghraib. There was this movie, there was that movie, The Report, also, that was quite good, that came out in 2019. So those are some reasons perhaps of why I really enjoyed this viewing, or perhaps it's just like all the nuances that the film has to offer, of which there are many.
Yeah.
Really started to work for me on this third viewing. Like some of the camera choices I felt like made a lot more sense. In past viewings, the music wouldn't work for me. In this viewing, it really did. The sound design is crazy. The scenes where they go into the memories of Abu Ghraib are unforgettable. Like that's one thing. Like the after the first time you watch it, they do this scene and it's like a totally super wide, like opposite of a fisheye lens, and it's warping. And they have this steady cam that goes through these like maze like hallways, and you're just seeing human beings tortured and screaming, and this blasting, deafening death metal music is playing, and dogs are barking in people's faces, and it's just a horrific sight. And the way that Schrader shoots it is just, it makes you queasy, and that's the intention.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't like seeing that scene, but it is so effective, and it is one of the most memorable scenes I've seen, in a long. It sticks with you. I'll just say that. This is a long-winded way of saying I think I really dig this movie, and I guess a tell of that would be I've watched it 3 times in the last like 4 years, and every time the opportunity has come up to rewatch it, I'm like, oh, you know what? I'd like to rewatch that just because it is. Let's see what it has to offer. Like it's a different movie. It's very different.
It is. I felt that not necessarily from the very beginning, but almost like the twist where they reveal why he was in prison.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh shit. Okay, this is something I haven't really seen before in this way.
Right.
And that I really loved. Like that whole story, I was very much seated for that. I think I'll just get right to it. I think my biggest issue with the film, and I hate to say it, was like the romance.
It's awful.
Oh my God. I actually do want to rewatch this movie because it almost ruined it for me. I was so like frustrated with it. And I hate to say it as well, but like I just could not buy Tiffany Haddish's performance at all.
Yeah.
I think it was like honestly just an unfair pairing. Like I think she's a great comedian, but I really struggled with her serious performance, especially
she's a miscast for sure.
Yeah, especially next to Oscar Isaac. Like it's just not fair, really. And I didn't feel any chemistry whatsoever between them. So I really hated the romance aspect of it. And I didn't like mind her character so much. Yeah, I think it was just like a miscasting, but I also would have preferred if they were just friends. Like the whole falling for each other and then their date night scene almost killed me. It was just so hard to watch. It just didn't connect for me at all. And then like totally threw me, like really distracted me from all the, complete lack of humanity that was going on that I think was more interesting.
Totally.
And I almost feel like they threw it in there because they were like, oh, this is too dark. But it was like, but that's the point.
Right.
So that really frustrated me, as you can tell. Because I was like so in it. I was so in it. And then that just like fully threw me for a loop. Especially when they introduced Ty Sheridan's character. I was like, oh, wow, this is going to like, we're getting deeper into like the dark twistiness of this and maybe more thriller going past the point of just like realism. And then they pull back from it a little bit, and then they come back. But so kind of pacing issues there, and then just like clutter that I think hindered either the emotion they were going for or the lack of emotion that they were going for, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Yeah. And I think I felt, well, and I still do. I felt that way and as passionately as you do on the first watch. And I think the other reason why maybe I like it more each time I rewatch it is because like I know I'm not going to like those parts, so I just kind of like let them wash over, and I focus in more on the stuff that dives deeper into Oscar Isaac's character and why he's there and his performance and why he does what he does. And like when the romance scenes come on, I'm more just like thinking, I'm not really paying attention. I'm thinking about, the other stuff. But I totally agree. I think, yes, unfortunately, I think Tiffany Haddish is not the correct casting. But also, more to your point, I think the whole romance element is just totally feels unnecessary.
Yeah, it's like a distraction
from a script standpoint. Yeah.
I'm glad I'm not alone in that, because I was like, am I just a hater? Like,
no, I think it's like, I think it is the criticism of this film that is otherwise like pretty good, or, like some say would have potential.
Yeah.
I've talked to many friends who've seen this movie or read, essays about it. And it's like, that is the one thing that's just feels like a different movie.
It really does. I was so confused, and it also just doesn't feel true to the character. Like when they go to the City of Lights or whatever, it's like the world's worst date as well. Sorry. He's
Cancel
like,
City of Lights trip for 10-year anniversary.
I was like, damn, sorry to anyone who loves that stuff. But he's like, I'm so glad we did this. I really like it. And I'm like, this guy doesn't like this. He comes home to his motel room and covers it in white. Yeah, like literally tries to create his own imprisonment every single day, every single night, either in the motel rooms or, confining himself to windowless casinos. And you're telling me he loves the City of Lights? I don't buy it. I don't buy it at all.
Yep.
Really, really, really pissed me off. But anyways, we can move on from that. I would love to have seen like more of that. Like I know we do get a lot of him journaling in the motel room, but I think those were some of like my favorite moments.
For sure, yeah.
And the voiceover is so effective. We're like inside his mind, because he also just doesn't really give anything in his expressions. He's like very stoic and kind of scary.
He's got a poker face.
Exactly. Yes. Thank you. So when we get to retreat inside his mind and his journal, those are like the most fascinating points of the film for me. And yeah, I do wish we got to see a little bit more of that. That first scene when he gets to the motel room and he's like opening his perfectly packed suitcase and he starts wrapping everything, taking the frames off the walls, unplugging the phone, and you're just mesmerized by you're literally hypnotized by every little movement and detail that he's doing.
Yeah.
And then it's not really, there's no like exposition, like they don't explain it. It's just you're kind of having to figure out the puzzle of who this person is and what he's dealing with. And I loved that.
Fun's the wrong word, but like
kind of
engaging character traits and idiosyncrasies that just like, ooh, what the fuck is this guy about?
Yeah, totally.
And then there's one point where Oscar Isaac gives this monologue when he's in the coffee shop and he tells Ty Sheridan's character, like, you assume that his dad never talked about it. Ty Sheridan's character talks a lot about how his dad would beat his mom and beat him, and then he unfortunately killed himself. So that's why he's on this revenge mission. And you get the sense that his father never talked about it, Oscar Isaac's character decides to talk about it. And man, his performance in that scene, it's one of the few times in the film, and the other time that he does it also is also quite brilliant, but it's one of the few times where that poker face cracks and you see him start to go back, and you this like snarl starts to come on his face, but he's also like horrified and scared. Like all of the emotions that he has been bottling up for, over a decade are starting to surface, and they're coming out of him. And then he like shoves them down again. It's like really, really hypnotic and scary to watch. Yeah.
The noise, the smell, feces, urine, oil, explosives, bleach, sweat, smoke all day, every day. Sand spiders, camel spiders, ants as big as cockroaches, the heat, the fear, the adrenaline jack of mortars, the sheer noise of it, blood. And the only way to survive was to rise above, rise and laugh, surf the craziness, to see a grown man shit and piss on himself. Sing the song, man, the noise, the fucking noise. The noise. We were all just trapped in there, in the same shithole. Them and us. And am I trying to justify what we did? No. Nothing. Nothing can justify what we did. Your father understood that. If you were there, you could understand. Otherwise, there's no understanding.
That's such a perfect description. It like gives me chills just thinking about it. He is kind of like, it's almost like a wild animal in that way, where, like a predator, where they're just as scared as they are deadly or dangerous. And you totally see all of that in that scene. It's very memorable and really fun to see. I mean, fun, maybe engaging is the better word, as you said, but really amazing to see him go there.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the other characters that we're talking about in this episode, but even more so outside of this episode, he has played villains before, but they all have some element of charm. And this one really does not.
Yeah.
And it's hard to believe that Oscar Isaac cannot be charming because he's just amazing. But he kills it in that with this. You're just like, I am afraid of this man.
Yeah, this is as least sexy as Oscar Isaac has ever been in his life in this movie.
Yeah.
The Card Counter. It is available to stream on Amazon Prime. Check it out and let us know what you think. All right, my friends, that's going to take us to a quick break. And during that break, you're going to hear from Gimme 3 producer, LADFF director, and my wife, Sonia Maru, for a segment that we call Sonia's Movie Minute. So stick around for that and much more right here on the Gimme 3 podcast.
Hello, I'm Sonia, and this is my Movie Minute. It's been a while. This week, I had the perverse pleasure of watching the movie Pillion by Harry Leighton. I thought the movie was equal parts sexy, funny, tender, and surprisingly relatable. I had to look it up. A pillion is the second seat on a motorcycle, the one for the passenger. You learn something new every day. In this story, Harry Melling plays the pillion, a submissive partner who rides on the passenger seat of biker dom Alexander Skarsgård's motorcycle. While this movie is far from a porno, it doesn't shy away from explicit sexuality of their relationship. Yes, there is much deeper psychology and emotion here as well, but also a lot of sex. And I like that. I've never thought I would see a pseudo-orgy pack such an emotional punch. Great work to everyone involved. It is truly one of the pleasures of my life to see Alexander Skarsgård in this role. I've adored him since True Blood, and it's so fun to see the roles he chooses. It feels like nobody in the world could embody Ray the way he did. For us potheads, Harry Potter that is, Harry Melling is immediately recognizable as Harry's horrible cousin Dudley. That makes it extra fun to see him take on this role as a gay man who lives with his parents, sings in a barbershop quartet, and whose first real romantic relationship is with a hyper-hot, hyper-masculine guy who makes him lick his motorcycle boots on the first date. If you can call it a date. Harry is great in the role. The film lives and dies on how we feel about his character, and his expressive eyes and body language endear him to us right away. Ultimately, this movie is about finding out who you really are, owning it and loving it. And sometimes who you are is someone who has a special aptitude for devotion. Grab your dog collar and your butt plug and run, don't crawl, to see Pillion.
It's the Gimme 3 podcast, everybody, and we are celebrating the birthday of a terrific actor, Oscar Isaac. Before the break, we discussed Inside Llewyn Davis and The Card Counter. And now Bella is going to take it away with another recent and highly, acclaimed performance by Mr. Isaac.
Yes, nominated for 9 Academy Awards this year, including Best Picture, and 5 Golden Globe nominations. Best Actor in a Motion Picture Drama for Oscar Isaac. It's Guillermo Del Toro's Frankenstein. Now, if you're a fan of Guillermo Del Toro, you've probably been waiting for this movie for a long time. He is quite possibly the biggest Frankenstein fan alive, even having an entire room in his house dedicated to the character and the literary and cinematic lore. This was a story he had been longing to tell for his entire career. It's finally here, and it is extraordinary. So for those who listen to us every week, you will be probably already familiar with Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. We did our Frankenstein episode released back in October, where we dove into the original monster flick from the 30s, Mel Brooks' parody, Young Frankenstein, and Kenneth Branagh's take on a faithful book adaptation. This version is very much Guillermo del Toro. It's Guillermo del Toro's own reimagining of Mary Shelley's novel. It's very close to the original source material, but I think it also evolves into something entirely his own. Oscar Isaac plays the brilliant but dangerously egotistical Victor Frankenstein. Mia Goth plays the gentle Elizabeth, and Jacob Elordi delivers a groundbreaking Oscar-nominated performance as the creature. So the story begins in the far north in 1857, where a ship trapped in ice encounters both Victor Frankenstein and the creature. From there, each tells their side of the story from the very beginning. Living in the shadow of his renowned surgeon father, Victor becomes obsessed with defying the natural order. And after the tragic death of his mother, that obsession transforms into one impossible goal: to conquer death itself. With the help of a strange benefactor who grants him unlimited funding, Victor begins his forbidden experiment, assembling a body from the dead and attempting to bring it back to life. When the experiment succeeds, Victor is then faced with the terrifying reality of what he's created, and disappointed by what he sees as a lack of intelligence, Victor rejects the creature and even attempts to destroy him along with every trace of his experiment. But the creature survives. Alone, he ventures out into the world where he encounters the evil of man and nature, but also the beauty of language, reading, and kindness, which he finds in the companionship of a lonely blind man. But the creature needs more. He remembers just a single word from the very beginning, his first word, Victor. So he sets out to find his maker and discover the truth of what, or more importantly, who he really is. Not something, someone. This was my first time watching this. I'm so sad.
Nice.
I missed the theater run, but I think it's back. So I'm buying my ticket immediately because I absolutely loved this. I'm having deja vu from our Frankenstein episode because I already gushed about how much I love this story, and it's one of my favorites. And then, Guillermo Del Toro is one of my favorite directors as well. So it's one of those things where I'm like, I feel like this was made for me.
Right.
But yeah, I'll pass it over to you first. I'm so curious to hear what you thought of Guillermo Del Toro's Frankenstein?
So I saw this almost immediately after we did our Frankenstein episode, because
Nice.
we did that to celebrate the release of this picture. So,
Right.
and I, at the time, I was also reading the book. So I was living, breathing Frankenstein at the first time I saw this movie. And
Amazing.
I don't think that was good.
Oh, no.
Because what happened was I went into the movie comparing it to all the versions of the films that I'd watched and to the book that I was in the middle of reading, and he changed this, and they did that different, and this is different. And I was just like, I was more intrigued by what he was going to do different rather than what is this artist doing? What is this artist's story that he's telling? So when I saw it the first time, I liked it, but I wanted to love it because I had, like you said, I'm a huge Del Toro fan and I'd been waiting for it for a long, long time. I watched it again last night and I was way more enamored with it. Having the distance, not thinking about the other movies, not really thinking about the book. Like, obviously I know the story and it's all, like ingrained in my head, but it was not all so fresh. And I just let the film wash over me for what it was and what this film was. And I loved it. I really I did end up loving it.
I love to hear that.
Yeah. And one thing I did kind of come to was, like, again, it's because I was honed in on it, but Oscar Isaac's performance in this, like, fuck, I think he's my favorite Victor Frankenstein. But like, obviously we got young Frankenstein's up there as well, but like, as far as a true understanding of this version of Victor Frankenstein in the film probably has like the most depth, and Del Toro took the time to explore his character more than any of the other filmmakers did, which I think is like his character, especially in the book, is just like, he's as much a part of the story as the creature is, if not more. So, So anyways, it's a long-winded way of saying I was really enamored and blown away by it on the second viewing.
I love to hear that. And I totally agree with you on this being the best Victor Frankenstein. I haven't read the book. I did just start it after watching this movie, like literally the next day, because I was like, oh, I have to. It's time. But I think this version, both a credit to, how Guillermo wrote the character and also Oscar Isaac's performance, is the one that made me understand him the most. I think Guillermo also wrote the first draft with Oscar in mind.
Oh, interesting.
Which is interesting. And he told him, they sat down and had a conversation about, I think, religious trauma, because there's a lot of Christian themes, and they had a very like intimate, serious conversation about their religious trauma and their relationship with their fathers and their own children.
God,
and he's
Del
like,
Toro
I think
he is so Mexican. Jeez.
I love him. Oh, I love him. And he was like, you have to play Victor Frankenstein. So yeah, he wrote the first draft with him in mind, and he said, but you cannot be afraid to become the villain. And I think that's what really stuck out to me in this version. And I think there's a quote he said, like, at the same time, the good and the evil are sides of the same thing, and they're constantly flipping back and forth.
Right.
And I just loved that, because we totally see it in this,
Frankly, we see it in all three of the films that we're discussing today in Oscar Isaac's performance.
God, it's so true. Oh my God, look at that. There is a connection. Because we do see him become the monster and the evil, and then the creature kind of becomes good, and, as I said, not something but someone. But yeah, I just loved this version so much. I totally understand watching this being like, what's he going to do differently from the novel, because he's talked so much about loving the book. but it is very different. And then also, I couldn't help but compare it to Kenneth Branagh's version,
Right.
which is the only one I've ever seen that's also very like faithful to Mary Shelley's book. I was watching the kind of behind the scenes short documentary on the making of this film, and I think it's called Frankenstein: The Anatomy Lesson, which is so great. And he does talk about, specifically relating to the complicated father-son dynamics of both Pinocchio and Frankenstein, which I forgot to mention is like the movie that solidified my obsession with Guillermo Del Toro. I love his Pinocchio. But he kind of talked about there being these both being stories of like, I think he said, quote unquote, abnormal sons born to disappointed fathers, which I thought was really interesting.
Right.
And I think that personal connection and the emotion and the humanity just really comes to the surface and is what makes this movie so good, because he's given us this new relationship to both Victor Frankenstein and especially Frankenstein's monster, who is still kind of scary, but we end up truly loving him and caring for him. And I think that's because we get to see, more of the childlike innocence and curiosity in this character like never before. So it's just such a great, I loved every aspect of how he paid tribute to the original source material, but then also totally made it his own. And then Oscar Isaac really kind of got to do the same thing with his character. And it's a character we've seen a billion times. So it's kind of, that would be pretty daunting to do. And I think he killed it.
It's mad. It's frenzied. It's definitely mad scientist, but there's a pain that Oscar Isaac explores in this character that I think really makes it more engaging. And in a way more scary. It makes him believable more as the monster, which is on the page of the book, and maybe it's on the page of the other previous films, but perhaps it wasn't executed as well as it is here. So yeah, I mean, on the second viewing also, there's just like so many more subtle touches, and I'm sure on the third and fourth viewing there's even more, but just like I didn't recognize that on the first viewing that Mia Goth, in addition to playing Elizabeth, she's also playing Victor Frankenstein's mother. So there's like that connection, that like obsession with the loss of a mother, and in a constant search for love because of that. So
then she rejects him,
right,
which is really interesting as well to analyze.
Nice little touch. He's always drinking milk, which is like life.
I didn't notice that. Yeah.
So yeah, all kinds of fascinating and beautiful touches.
Mm-hmm.
There are moments where I think it gets a little too like VFX heavy, and I'm not even sure how much of it is VFX, but a lot of stuff looks VFX-y to me. And admittedly that those parts did kind of take me out of it. Just because I don't like seeing so many VFX in things that are supposed to be period, It really yanks me out of it. And on the second viewing, it still did do that. But overall, like obviously it's Del Toro, so the sets are going to be gorgeous. The costumes are going to be beautiful.
I kind of have like a contrasting opinion on like the period piece thing. I've talked about this with like some of my other friends who have watched it as well. Like some of them took issue with the costumes for that reason, because they're more like fantastical than historically accurate. I almost like don't even think of this story as like any kind of reality, if that makes any sense. Like obviously it's inherently fantastical and surreal because of the subject matter, but I also almost like think of it in the way that Guillermo del Toro designed and created this world as like not of this earth by any means. And I really liked seeing that version, because so much of what you like think of and see in other Frankenstein adaptations is very like kind of historically accurate, and that's what makes the fantasy elements so distinct. So I thought it was kind of interesting to see a version that like leans even more into the fantasy of it than others have, if that makes any sense.
Well, obviously he's a fantastical director. Like that's the worlds that he lives in. Also, this movie takes place in a different time period than all the other Frankenstein books do, and the novel does. Like this takes place like I think like the mid 1800s, like during the Crimean War, whereas the other ones take place in the early 1800s or something like that, or late 1700s. So yeah, it is technically a different time period, but yeah, I mean Del Toro can't help himself. He's gonna make it.
He can't help himself.
He's gonna make it crazy. You know, he's gonna make it famous.
His set pieces. I mean, watching that like behind the scenes, they literally built the ship.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the film. Like it looks fucking crazy. It's just a giant ship in the middle of a parking lot with like a full set of ice around it.
Wow.
And you're just like, I don't know that we needed to do that, but I'm glad that we did. Yeah, I love his dedication to the, I don't know, like tactile craft.
Yeah.
Movie making.
Yeah.
I think it pays off so well. And I do agree with you. There were scenes that I was like, this has to be VFX. Like, there's no way it's not. Well, but the moments that aren't, you appreciate more.
Like, even you said the ship was built and there was ice around this. It's like, man, I'd see it looked like VFX-y to me. And that's unfortunate because so many hours went into creating that. And they did, you know, by all accounts, the right thing. They did it the right way. So then why didn't it look like that, though?
I know, it's a good question.
It's
I wonder,
digital, man. But it might lean into, you know, some of your friends' critiques about like some things not being totally period is like sometimes it will suspend the disbelief and it's like something ain't right here, you know. And it just looks off. But I mean, I don't know. What did they shoot this on? Hold on.
I know. I am curious.
Talk amongst yourself, and I'm gonna look up. Yeah, they shot on RE Lexus 65, so it was a digital. So they shot it on digital. So yeah,
that'll do it.
That'll do it right there. End of story.
And that's a wrap.
Yep. I loved the structure. I loved like the prelude and Victor's story and Frankenstein's story. I really enjoyed that even more on this second viewing. I thought that was really well executed. And one thing I thought about while we were, you know, prepping this episode is the other wonderful thing about Oscar Isaac's performance is for a good half, if not more, of this film, Oscar Isaac is our narrator, you know, and he does a great job as the narrator because he's got such like he's got an accent in this film, and I don't even know what the accent is, but it is like perfect for like, you know, a gothic telling of what has occurred. It's like, fuck, you could take this voice and his narration of this picture and have him do, you know, the audiobook reading of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, and it'd like, you'd be like, you're in heaven.
I wish.
Really, really great there. But I was also like, oh, you know, he also is doing narration in Card Counter. So
yeah,
some more connections there for you.
So we need two things. We need Oscar Isaac audiobooks. And I forgot to mention this with Inside Llewyn Davis, but I want an Oscar Isaac musical. I need it. I need to see it.
Yeah. That'd sell some tickets.
All right. I'd be there. It's not about Oscar Isaac, but I have to say I loved I guess in a way it's about his character, but I loved the monster design, the creature design. I don't know. I just thought it was so smart that he would have really straight lines. Like a lot of the other versions we've seen are all kind of like makeshift and amateur and, you know, not very clean cuts. And I feel like they really emphasized Victor Frankenstein's like psychotic perfectionist attitude towards things in this movie. Like he was, you know, he was ignored, he was neglected as a kid. And so he's, you know, that manifests in adulthood as like, you know, running around screaming like a madman for attention in that scene where he's presenting, you know, the pieces that he's reanimated. And I think Harlander, the character who is his benefactor, is like, you looked like a child out there, just like screaming for attention. Like, you need to compose yourself. And he can't, but the one way he can is to like do everything perfectly. And that's what I loved about the monster design is like, yeah, if Victor Frankenstein was going to do this like masterpiece, like, you know, his greatest life's work experiment, he'd want it to look beautiful as much as possible, I think. So I love that aspect, because then it's also just such a cool character design, and also does, you know, play into, sorry, I'm rambling here. I was going to say it explains having the war as a backstory, I think really helped to explain like all the different pieces instead of just like an arm and a leg.
Right.
Like, it's like even just a cheek.
Yeah.
So all of those elements, I think, just worked really well for both characters.
Yeah. Yeah. See, this is where I guess like I don't like comparing, because when you say that, I'm just like, I don't know. I think I like, obviously the Boris Karloff design is like iconic. Like, that's what everybody thinks.
Oh, yeah.
So it's hard to do that. But then I'm also like, I think I liked the Robert De Niro design better than this design.
Which is so messy.
But it's just like, that was the design that I saw where I was like, that is exactly how it would look if you like made a man and like brought him.
See, and that's fair too. Yeah. I think, Guillermo's is obviously more fantasy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's like
as we keep saying,
fantastical creature. So yeah, I mean, it's just different artist interpretations, you know, and I think that's why it was good for me to rewatch this, because I was able to just immerse myself in Del Toro's world, whereas the first time I was watching it, I was trying to be in Del Toro's world and have one foot in, you know, Kenneth Branagh's world and another foot in Mary Shelley's world, and all these different. I was trying to be in too many places at once. I was not living in the moment.
Right.
And here I find myself doing it again.
I know. It's my fault. I'm not living in the moment.
All right, so check it out on Netflix, everybody. Frankenstein. Hell, man. 3 incredible performances by Mr. Oscar Isaac. We found some connections in these very different films. That's what's fun to talk about these actors and their careers and just pick 3 movies, is because you start to get the sense of like what kind of roles these people like to take, or what the characters that they, you know, connect to. And sometimes it's a subconscious. Like if you listen to interviews with Elvis Mitchell, host of The Treatment, one of the best, if not the best film interviewer out there, he talks to actors and directors, and he's always telling them about connections that he finds in their movies. And they're always like, oh, well, yeah, I never thought about that. But yeah, sometimes it's subconscious, like maybe it is for Oscar Isaac or not. But all 3 amazing performances. Let us know what you think of them. Let us know what you think of Frankenstein. Let us know what you think of The Card Counter, and let us know what you think of Inside Llewyn Davis. You can do that a couple different ways. You can message us on Instagram, Gimme3 Podcast. That's GIMME, spell out 3 podcast. Slide into our DMs there. We also put polls up so you can vote for some of the movies that we're going to be discussing. We've got all kinds of fun content and behind the scenes photos that constantly go up on there as well. So you're going to want to follow Gimme3 Podcast on Instagram. You can also send us a text message by scrolling down to our episode description. And there's a link that says send us a text message. Click that link, drop us a line. It's going to go directly into our inbox. If you dig this show, if you like the Gimme 3 podcast and you want to support us, there's a few ways to do that. 3 ways, in fact. Number 1, we do have a Patreon for a mere $5 a month, which is cheaper than essentially breathing these days. You can support the show. It helps us keep the mics on, and there's some bonus content on there as well. So for $5 a month, you can subscribe to our Patreon. As also, you can set our podcast to automatically download. Download our episodes. Really helps our algorithm, helps us keep the show going, and helps us get in front of more audiences. And the third and final way is if you have a friend who is a cinephile, or you got a family member who's a cinephile and you think they dig this show, send it to them. If you got a friend who's an Oscar Isaac fan, share this episode with them. Spread the love, spread the good word of the Gimme 3 podcast. Bella, do you want to let the lovely folks know where they can find you on the social medias?
Yes, you guys can find me on Instagram at Portrait of a Cinephile or on Letterboxd at BFStratus.
You can find me on Letterboxd, on Instagram, or on Blue Sky at Nicholas Ibarra. Ibarra is spelled with a Y. We want to thank you all for listening to the Gimme 3 podcast, and we will see you at the movies.